Like my one goal for this whole process was just for a kid to open up a book and to just experience joy while reading it and to have a favorite character. And when it's done, okay, I'm going to read that again. Maybe it's one of their favorite books. That would be my hope.
Hi, I'm Heather Lifson with the Menifee Experience, and today I'm doing another episode of Voices of the Valley. I'm sitting here today with Alex Friedrichs, and he just wrote the children's book, Sweet Rescue, which is doing amazing on Amazon. And so we're going to talk about the process that goes behind him creating this book.
Heather, thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here with you.
Yeah, I'm so glad you were able to make it. So tell me a little bit about the book. Let's start with that.
So a couple years ago, I had a former student come to me who had been in a movie and made a couple videos. He had an agent, and his agent was approached by Amazon Studios and was asked to put together a team for a new television show, a reality show for kids called Play-Doh Squished. And he went to his parents, said, "I really like Mr. Friedrichs to be on our team." And so they came to school, we talked about it, we put the team together. It was 2 students and myself, and we chose another teacher as well, Mrs. Runner. And from there, we went to the show. We were asked to put together a story for the show, and then we'd have to build it out of Play-Doh. And so thinking of stories, like endless possibilities, one night, 4:00 in the morning, I wake up and I had this great dream. And I woke my wife up and I was like, okay, I just dreamt this amazing story, but we have to get up and write it down before I forget about it. So we got up, write the story, and it actually was Sweet Rescue. It was about a little caterpillar who got stuck in a pie and this little adventure going through a park. And there was an evil little bird that was trying to get him, trying to eat him. And from there, we went on the show. We were wildly successful. The judges absolutely loved the story. And so I'm not going to spoil. For those of you that haven't seen the episode, I please encourage you to watch the show because it's really entertaining, especially if you have kids. But after the show, I thought, I need to write a children's book about this.
So tell me about a little bit of that process of being a first-time author, like publishing a children's book. How did that go for you?
Well, I'm a firm believer that this whole process was definitely God influenced. He has opened every single door along this process. I have tried to write children's books before, and it's a very hard process. With this one, the story just came like I said, in a dream, and I really feel like that was God inspired. So I wrote about it. And then once it was done, I met this amazing instructional aide at our school who I knew liked to draw. And so I asked him, hey, would you be interested in pairing up with me? And you could illustrate, I'll write, and we could create this amazing story. So he at first was a little reluctant, but then he thought, you know what, this kind of sounds fun. So we did a lot of talking about characters, and he started doing some sketches, and we worked really well collaboratively. And it just flowed so seamlessly. So we wrote the story, and once it was done, I asked my superintendent if she knew anybody that was in children's publication. And she said, you know, what's really funny is like 2 months ago, I would have said no, but I have a colleague out in Whittier who just published his first book. Let me reach out to him. And so she emailed me back later that day and said, he's a superintendent in Whittier, and he said he wants to call you that night. So again, here's this very busy man that on his way home took the time to talk to me for 45 minutes about his journey and what I could do to help me. And then a couple days later, I heard from his publication company, hey, please send us your manuscript. We'd be interested. And from there, I sent the manuscript. I remember coming out of a men's Bible study one Wednesday morning. It was like 6:00 in the morning. And I got the email from the publication department, and they said they loved the story, that they're definitely interested. And I went home and I was like, this is absolutely, like, every single step along the way has been, definitely influenced by God. So with that being said, like, I have to absolutely say, thank you so much, God, for this incredible journey.
Mm-hmm. I love that. I love that you're able to see that it was not just all you're doing, like you were just acting out that inspiration, that divine inspiration that you received, and you're just following God's prompts in your life saying, hey, try this, ask this person, step out. You still had to take that step of faith in that direction, and then God just took it from there and made it work in your favor. And I love hearing stories like that. And I know when we talked before too, we talked about those moments where you wake up at 2 a.m, 4 a.m, and I'm a firm believer in those moments are when God is trying to get our attention, and he knows that we don't have our phones out, we don't have work to do, we don't have our family to take care of. That's like that time for him to wake us up and be like, this is something I want you to do. And I have those moments too. That's kind of how I started what I'm doing. So I love that our stories are very similar in that way, and that we were able to connect and kind of share that experience. Yeah. So that's an awesome, incredible story. I have another question for you. So when you went on this Amazon show, you had your students with you. Did you also, did students inspire you as you were writing the book too? Or how did that work out?
So we all came together. We met a couple times just to practice, to give thoughts about stories. Everybody was asked to think of different stories. And so we thought, okay, everybody will present something that they liked. And so while we shared different versions of things that we came up with, everybody agreed that this would be the story that we'd go into. And then we just kind of added little details here and there. So everybody contributed, everybody gave some thoughts, and it just made the story even better.
I love that. I love that it was a community. It was a community effort there. Tell me about being a teacher at Callie Kirkpatrick. What's that been like for you?
It's the greatest job I could ever ask for.
You teach fourth grade?
Third grade.
Third grade.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. When I went to college, I had a baseball scholarship and I pitched, and that's all I wanted to do was I wanted to be a professional baseball player. We had scouts come out all the time where they were watching. That's all I wanted to do was be a baseball player. And then I hurt my arm, not the same injury. And I realized I might not be able to get to that aspiration. So I decided to do an observation in elementary school. And that first day walking into class, sitting down, watching the kids, I just knew that that was something that I was led to do. And every single day, I've been at Callie Kirkpatrick 21 years. I've been teaching for 31. And every single day is a blessing to go to school and to teach the kids. I love it as much now as I did my very first day.
Do you have a favorite subject that you teach when it comes to working with the kids?
Actually, I'd say writing. Like, I absolutely love how the writing process takes kids to use their imaginations and to write creatively.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a really good point. I'm a big believer in teaching kids to be creative and use their imaginations. And I think there isn't enough people out there focusing solely on content for kids, content that's educational, that inspires not just math and, learning the rules of science or math or language arts, but actually teaching them to, in a way, be free in their imagination and to, be messy, be artistic and be messy. And I think that these types of things like what you've done are very needed in today's society, where kids can just be kids and enjoy content that is made for kids, that is creative and inspiring in that way.
And that's what I hope this comes about, is just to inspire the kids, not just at this school, but there's so many bad things that are happening in the world. And it's just so discouraging that the kids see all of this through social media by listening to what the parents are watching or listening to. It gave me hope that when the story came out, that Like my one goal for this whole process was just for a kid to open up a book and to just experience joy while reading it and to have a favorite character. And when it's done, okay, I'm going to read that again. Maybe it's one of their favorite books. That would be my hope.
That kind of goes into my next question. When you were a kid, did you have a favorite book or favorite character?
Actually, I didn't.
You didn't?
No. I loved comic books.
Okay.
So I had quite a good collection of comic books. I loved Superman and Spider-Man. I would read those. But it wasn't until I got into middle school and I read The Outsiders. That was my absolute favorite. The whole story, plot line, I couldn't put it down.
And did you always want to be a writer? Or did you have something else and this just kind of came about?
My favorite part of the day is to read stories to kids. I love doing voices and where the stories just come alive. I can make the stories come alive using the different voices. I really would like to do some voiceover work in some studios. People laugh and joke with me about that. Like, Friedrichs, you need to go to Hollywood and do some voiceovers. So that's probably my favorite part of the day, is just reading stories. And I've read thousands over the years. And so that being said, I've read some really, really great ones. And then I've read some ones that I think, oh, you know what? Like, this isn't one of my favorites. And over the years, I've just collected bits and pieces of what makes a story good in my aspect anyway. So when I wrote this, I was trying to recall all the things I loved about certain books and tried to put different elements in that.
Okay, I have kind of a fun question for you. What would be a fun fact about you that your students don't know?
Wow, that is a great question. I'm extremely picky.
Okay.
And like with food, I don't like to try things I don't like. And I basically eat like an 8-year-old.
Okay.
That would be something that the kids would be shocked with.
So when you say picky with food, it's like you have eaten the same types of foods your whole life and you just are set in your ways? Or is it like certain food groups that you don't like? Or
Oh no, there's definitely certain food groups I do not like. And I apologize to my wife because she has a very limited amount of diet that she eats now. Besides the chicken nuggets and the macaroni and cheese and all that pizza. But yeah, I basically eat like an 8-year-old.
Okay. And you teach the kids in your grade are probably about that old, right? Yeah. So you have that in common with them. Right. Now they know. Now they'll know. You guys can talk about that now. So when you go to the school and they serve the lunches, do you like the lunches there?
Actually, I do. I have my certain favorites.
Okay.
They have a chicken fried sandwich.
Yep.
I absolutely love that. And my grandsons actually attend school at my school. So I'll ask them, like, hey, I'll trade you. I'll bring something that you want if you give me the chicken sandwich on that day.
That's great.
I do. On Wednesdays, we do a table reward. So the kids will come into my classroom if the table won their challenge for the week, and we'll play video games. I have old school video games, Pac-Man, Dig Dug, like really old school. Like the kids are like, oh my gosh, Mr. Friedrichs, these are so old. But they end up loving them. But we'll have lunch on Wednesdays and everybody will bring either their school lunch or what they bring. And they always crack up at me because every single Wednesday, it's a peanut butter and jelly sandwich with Cheetos and a yogurt and an apple. And they're like, Mr. Friedrichs, you always eat that. I'm like, yeah, that's my favorite. Talking about the mentality of an 8-year-old, I think that's why I love the job so much, is because like really I think like an 8-year-old. Like I love having fun. I love enjoying the day.
I can see in your personality that you have a very lighthearted personality. You like to joke around, and I could see you really shining in that role that you have. I'm kind of bummed that my son didn't get to have you as a teacher.
Oh, I would have loved that.
Yeah, he would have loved you for sure in 3rd grade. Absolutely.
I would have loved to have had him in my 3rd grade because my class is completely different than anybody else's.
Okay. How so?
So my class is highly competitive, and it's very like It bothers me when kids come home and they always say, what'd you do today in school? Nothing. And it really, really bothered me. So years ago, I thought, like, how can I make this class a little bit more engaging? So I brought in the element of games.
Okay.
And so if you walk into my classroom, I have a collection of bean bags, dice. These are for rewards, individual rewards. I want kids kind of sitting on the edge of their seat, like, what's he going to say next? What's he going to do next? Everything in my classroom is a competitive game. And we do it to a 2-tiered system where one is it's a collaboration where the kids work together as a table to get points. And at the end of the week, they earn certain things like the video games and the lunch. Other things are individual. And if they can get those, then they win individual rewards. But everything's geared towards playing those games. So I've had the superintendent, I've had principals walk in, we're shooting baskets in the middle of class. We're playing cornhole. I have darts, whatever it is, but it's all just so those kids can have fun. I tell everybody I have to compete with YouTube and TikTok. I have to compete with all of these things, video games.
Yeah.
So I want the kids playing in there, but that playing helps with the engagement.
It keeps them involved. It gets them directly involved where they feel like if they are doing a specific task correctly, then they get that reward.
Yes.
And I love that because a lot of teachers focus a lot more on the, discipline side of things, or maybe they just focus on like food rewards. But I love that you're including actual activities, which all of those things that you described are educational games, that kids are also getting that hand-eye coordination, or they're learning how to, with dice, you're learning counting, or maybe different types of, educational things secondary where they don't even realize, they don't realize that they're also doing something educational while having fun. That's really incredible.
And I was very fortunate last year. I was called to do Let's Make a Deal.
Oh, really?
So I was on the show, and when we went on for the audition, I told the producer, like, I actually play Let's Make a Deal in my classroom. And they were like, whoa, wait a minute. How do you do that? So I told them that we have this game board and that there's prizes behind it, but some aren't revealed. And so they were very, intrigued by this. And so I was blessed enough to be called up, and I went up with Wayne Brady, that was so cool. I would love to say that I chose correctly, but I didn't. And I chose the incorrect thing. I got zonked. And at the end of the show, he asked me, so do you have the zonk in the class? And I said, actually, I do. And the kids are going to love this when they see it now, because they get zonked all the time. Now their teacher just got zonked.
That's great. That's great. Do you think that you'll incorporate the book that you wrote into your classroom at all?
Yes, actually I will. We actually do that collaborative teaching with the 4th grade teacher that was also on the show. So every single year, when we start creative writing, we show the kids the show, and they watch the show, and then we divide the 4th grade and the 3rd graders up into teams, and then they have to go through that whole same process that we did, and they create a storyline. They have to build with Play-Doh, and so the book is just going to seamlessly work itself into, okay, look, this is what you could get, like the reward.
That's inspiring too for students, especially students who might want to grow up to write their own books, right? Could end up inspiring a generation to do their own creative, writing of their own style, whatever they may be into. That kind of goes into my next question too, which is, what would you say to any, 3rd, 4th, 5th graders who might be interested in writing their own books? What would be your advice for them to help them get started?
I would tell them to use their imagination and to never stop trying to improve the story, because the process is really long. But if they feel like they love the story, they'll just always try to keep improving it. I think that's why I love teaching writing so much, is because during that creative writing process time, kids that I see really feel inspired about a specific topic, they will continue to try to edit through that process instead of just, okay, I'm done. Here's a paper. What did I get? Can I move on? So I do feel that it would teach them perseverance. And especially that's a great trait to have as an adult.
Yeah. That's a good thing to learn young and to master while you're young in age and still in school, to be able to lean back on that as an adult.
This whole process has been surreal. The first award that Sweet Rescue won was a Parents Pick Award for 2025. And I went through and I looked, and the criteria of it was quite difficult. And I was like, wow, I felt so honored and so blessed. I immediately reached out to the illustrator and told him, like, wow, look, we did it. We accomplished the goal. And like ever since that first award, we've been notified that there have been several different awards given out, lots of great reviews. This morning I pulled up a review and I showed my wife. I was like, whoa, look at this review. And it's so touching. Like, it's just like my heart just melts when I read these, because again, like if I was going to tell the kids, like, put your heart and soul into what you want to write, like it was like, I was just constantly, whether it was going around the house, mowing the lawn, cooking dinner, riding my bike, I was just constantly thinking, what ways could I improve on this? So the whole thing has just been a blessing.
That's incredible. So it's Kane Carter illustrated it. Do you want to give any special shout outs to him?
Absolutely.
Okay.
He's absolutely incredible. He has such a great personality. I think he was very reluctant at first to join me on this quest. And it's something out of his comfort zone.
Sure.
And he wasn't sure about what he wanted to do as far as the genre and the characters. And I said, well, I'm going to give you the story and I want you to just see what comes to your mind. And what he came up with, like Becky with the aviator outfit, it was just so unique. And I was so impressed by what he came up with. The little ants, everybody had their little characters and their little designs with their costumes. And it's so unique, so imaginative. Like he's wildly impressive. And I kept telling him, this is going to be a start to a wonderful career for you, because he's a young guy. He's still going to college. And I was really impressed by the way that he decided to, I'm going to work with an older guy and we'll see, how this fits. I've never never drawn for an illustration for a children's book before. But what he did to create and capture, to make the story come alive, I will forever be grateful to him.
That's great. That's a great story. That's an awesome shout out for him.
There's one picture in particular when he drew it. Obviously I love tattoos. So when he drew it, I said, well, if we get this thing published, I'm going to get a tattoo of this. And he said, you're kidding. I said, you're going to get one too. And he said, well, I don't know about that. But when we did get the notification that we were getting published, I called up my buddy at the tattoo shop and I said, okay, I got published. I'm going to get a tattoo of this. And so I did. I'd show you today, but it's all wrapped up. But it's obviously one of my favorite tattoos now. And again, it's just because he was incredible with the story and the characters and making everything so vivid and just so fun. I really hope that the kids just look to see, the differences of all the characters, because he really did such a beautiful job making that story entertaining.
Is there anything else you'd like to tell the residents of Menifee about yourself or about your book?
I absolutely love Menifee. I've lived here for 25 years. I take great pride in the city. I've actually wanted to be Menifee mayor when I retired. So when I saw your interview with our mayor, I was like, wow, he has a great vision and a great plan. It inspired me a little bit. But I love teaching. There's no better job in the whole world.
He's also a teacher.
Yes. Yes. And
yeah.
Again, I'm very impressed by him. He seems like I can't wait to meet him.
Yeah.
But I just love working in a small little town and, walking into Target or Home Depot and, sitting down at a restaurant and running into kids that, it's just, there's no better feeling than that. And running into families. I love that quaint little hometown feel because I grew up in Riverside. Riverside's so big. Menifee is just so different. And, I just absolutely love it.
I would agree with you. I think one of the things I always say about Menifee is it's a very big city with a very small town feel to it, which is kind of like doesn't make sense. Doesn't seem like it should make sense, but when you visit, you get to see it firsthand. It's like, oh yeah, I get it. Like you walk into places, people, people are connected, and we care a lot about our community. But we are, a growing city, and we do have a lot of residents in our area too. And so I'm very excited too about the vision and seeing what happens with Menifee's unique identity, and seeing these new businesses that are budding and how it can correlate and mix with the history that we have in our town.
I love your description of it. Like that was perfect. And what you're doing, the Menifee experience, is so overdue. Like what we need is to get people to know what's going on. You're going to do an amazing job getting everybody to know what's happening here.
Thank you. Yes,
Yeah.
I'm very excited. I'm getting to that point where I'm having people reaching out and saying, hey, can you also show this off? Can you show that off? And I love it because there's things that I didn't even know about that people will just randomly send me a message. They're like, hey, you should check this out, because you're going to different restaurants and different places and showing the hidden gems. And yeah, I think that there's a lot more to our community. And I think the thing that I like about it the most is that when I hear people say, oh, because of your page or because of your content, I found this hidden gem that I love, or I found this community that I'm getting involved in, or, just any of those things where somebody was previously maybe just staying at home on the phone, on the TV, just, in their bubble. And then they see something right through my content, and it sparks inspiration in them to get out in the community and meet people. And that's really what I'm trying to do, is just bring people together and showcase the good things that are happening in our town, because there's always places you can go to find out the bad things that are happening, but I think we need more people out there showcasing the good things, the hard work that you did to create something wonderful for your students and for kids all over Amazon's everywhere. So kids everywhere can now have access to this book that you wrote. That's an incredible thing to come out of our beautiful town. And I'm very excited, and I'm very thankful that you came on the show to talk about this.
Well, it was my pleasure. Like, I'm very proud to be here. And you're going to be wildly successful.
Thank you.
You have a great vision. And I think Menifee, like I said, it's definitely overdue. And I think what you're going to do for us everybody's going to be very grateful.
That's awesome. That's wonderful to hear. Thank you so much. So Alex Friedrichs here, he wrote the book Sweet Rescue. And yeah, did you have anything else to say? Or
again, just thank you so much for letting me come on. And really, I'm hoping that this book brings joy to kids and to parents, especially like maybe a bedtime story.
Yeah. And hopefully you realize too what a great thing it is that you do for the community as well. Because, anyone can point a camera and take videos of things, but you're actually shaping our future generation and our future Menifee, mayors and our future teachers. And that's very important. That's the most important job, in my opinion, in our city. So you need to realize that you have that, that you're carrying too, and that you've been doing for 20 years now. So it's a very important part of the structure of our city and our community too. So
I'm very lucky.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you so much for watching, guys. We'll see you next time.